But when I was a young girl, like 14, I dreamt of meeting Whitney Houston. That was my dream, meeting her, working with her something, you know. And so that was the moment that they captured. That was my first time meeting her. And I don't know what made me run away from her like that, but
I don't blame you.
But it was surreal. I couldn't believe it. She just made me feel like she knew me my whole life.
Have you ever noticed how some stories refuse to disappear no matter how many years pass? Whitney Houston's tragic death is one of those stories. More than a decade later, people are still revisiting old interviews, forgotten moments, and emotional reactions, searching for answers they believe may still be hidden in plain sight. Among the names that continue to surface is Brandy, one of Whitney's closest proteges, whose deep admiration for the legendary singer eventually grew into a bond that many described as more like family than friendship. Add music executive Clive Davis into the conversation, along with years of online speculation surrounding his influence in the music industry, and it's easy to see why so many discussions continue today. But before we go any further, it's important to separate what's been officially confirmed from the theories that have spread across social media. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the facts, the unanswered questions, and the moments that continue to fuel public curiosity.
Houston.
That was the last time I saw her. I didn't get a chance to perform at the Clive party for the Grammys because I was devastated.
Yes.
I was devastated. I didn't understand. I couldn't believe it. It was just, I was in shock. So I wasn't able to do anything. I just wanted to drink wine.
Long before Brandy became a Grammy-winning artist and one of the biggest names in R&B, she was simply a teenage girl with one dream. At just 14 years old, she imagined what it would be like to meet Whitney Houston, the woman whose voice inspired millions around the world. For Brandy, Whitney wasn't just another celebrity. She represented everything Brandy hoped to become as a singer. Meeting her seemed almost impossible, yet life had other plans. When the opportunity finally came, the moment was so overwhelming that Brandy later admitted she did something she still laughs about today. She ran away. Looking back, she confessed she couldn't even explain why she reacted that way. The excitement, disbelief, and emotion all hit at once. She described Whitney as someone who instantly made her feel comfortable, almost as if they had known each other for years instead of meeting for the first time. That unforgettable encounter would become the beginning of a relationship that fans admired for decades.
Brandy and I have a sometimes it's big sister, little sister.
Right.
Sometimes it's a mother to daughter, sometimes it's sister to sister.
Right.
You know, it varies on different levels. It's according to what we're talking about, what we're dealing with on that particular day.
As the years passed, Whitney became far more than just a musical inspiration to Brandy. Their relationship evolved into something deeply personal. In interviews, Brandy explained that their connection changed depending on the moment. Sometimes Whitney felt like a protective older sister. Other times, she acted more like a mother, offering advice, encouragement, and support whenever Brandy needed it. Then there were moments when they were simply two friends enjoying each other's company. That genuine affection was visible whenever they appeared together in public, and fans couldn't help but notice the warmth between them. It wasn't a relationship built for headlines. It appeared authentic, which is exactly why people continue to revisit it today. Years later, that friendship would place Brandy heartbreakingly close to one of the darkest days in music history. In February 2012, Grammy weekend had brought the biggest stars in entertainment to Beverly Hills. The annual pre-Grammy party, hosted by legendary music executive Clive Davis, was once again expected to be one of the industry's biggest celebrations. Whitney Houston was scheduled to attend, and Brandy was preparing for the event as well. No one could have imagined how quickly the atmosphere would change from celebration to tragedy. According to Brandy's own recollections, she was getting ready in her hotel room when she suddenly heard frantic voices echoing through the hallway. Paramedics were rushing past, shouting for people to hurry because someone wasn't breathing. At first, Brandy had no idea who they were talking about. Like everyone else nearby, she assumed it was simply another emergency unfolding somewhere inside the hotel. Moments later, however, the devastating truth emerged. The person the paramedics had been desperately trying to save was Whitney Houston. Brandy has spoken openly about how deeply that moment affected her. She described herself as being completely devastated and unable to process what had happened. She later admitted she couldn't perform at Clive Davis's pre-Grammy party because she was still in shock. Rather than stepping onto the stage, she simply wanted to be left alone with her grief. For someone who had looked up to Whitney since childhood, losing her mentor in such sudden and heartbreaking circumstances felt almost impossible to comprehend.
So, she's dead. Ray J was the last person to see her alive. He let the drug dealer in, but she was sober, right? But he let the drug dealer in that gave her the shot.
Whitney Houston's passing shocked not only the music industry, but millions of fans around the world. The official investigation later concluded that she died from accidental drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use listed as contributing factors. Toxicology reports also documented additional substances in her system, details that have been publicly reported for years. Despite these official findings, the tragedy quickly became surrounded by countless rumors and unanswered questions. As often happens with the deaths of iconic public figures, many people struggled to accept that the official explanation was the complete story. Over time, online discussions began examining nearly every detail surrounding Whitney's final days, sometimes blurring the line between confirmed information and speculation.
But when I first heard she passed away, I said, my God, somebody gave her a bad bag.
Cocaine.
Yes, I promise you, that was the first thing that came out of my mouth. And then I saw Ray J, and it all added up.
One moment in particular has remained at the center of those discussions for years. Shortly before Whitney's passing, she appeared alongside Brandy, Monica, and Clive Davis during an interview. At one point during the conversation, Whitney quietly handed Brandy a handwritten note while cameras were still rolling. It happened so quickly that many viewers barely noticed it the first time they watched the clip. But after Whitney's death, people returned to that footage and began analyzing every second. Almost immediately, theories started spreading across the internet. Some viewers believed Whitney intentionally waited until cameras were present before passing the note to Brandy. Others argued it looked nothing more than a private exchange between close friends. The mystery deepened when Whitney could be heard saying, "I nearly drowned today." Because of the tragic circumstances surrounding her death just days later, those words have been replayed and discussed countless times online. Many people wondered whether the note contained something significant, while others believed the entire moment was being overanalyzed simply because of what happened afterward. The truth, however, remains surprisingly simple. Brandy has never publicly revealed what was written on that note. No verified source has confirmed its contents, and no official investigation has suggested that it contained information related to Whitney's death. Everything beyond those facts remains speculation. Yet, the mystery continues to fascinate people because humans naturally search for meaning in moments that seem unusually coincidental. Sometimes unanswered questions become even more compelling than the answers themselves. That curiosity has only grown in recent years as conversations surrounding Clive Davis have once again gained attention online. Across social media, some users have suggested that artists who once remained silent about powerful figures in the music industry may eventually decide to speak openly about their experiences. Those discussions often reference older interviews, memoirs, and public disagreements, including Kelly Clarkson's criticism of parts of Clive Davis's memoir back in 2013. Others point to Davis's long history with working with some of music's biggest stars, including Whitney Houston, and many others whose careers he helped shape. These conversations have encouraged renewed interest in examining past relationships within the industry. However, it's equally important to recognize what has not been established. Although social media is filled with theories connecting various people and events, there is no verified evidence that Clive Davis was involved in causing Whitney Houston's death. Likewise, there is no confirmed evidence that Brandy possesses hidden information she has chosen not to reveal. Those ideas continue to circulate online, but they remain claims made by commentators and internet users rather than established facts. Even so, the combination of emotional interviews, mysterious moments, and the enduring legacy of Whitney Houston ensures that these discussions continue to capture public attention years after the tragedy itself.